Welcome to Peppershock Media's Marketing Expedition podcast, keeping you up to date with the latest in marketing and advertising. Now here's your host, Ray Allen.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition podcast. I'm your host, Ray Allen, President and CEO of Peppershock Media and founder of the Marketing Expedition community. And today we have Brandon Buck joining us, and Brandon guides to make common sense. He's got common sense practice. He supports people in gaining confidence necessary to lead instead of just manage. He aids in cutting distractions out of life so people can become more productive instead of just busy. Most importantly, he leads people in learning what is most important and then assists in developing the discipline it takes to live a life of purpose. Brandon's passion for leadership development started with an opportunity to play collegiate baseball at Purdue University. And after graduation, he began a career as a high school teacher and a coach in Arizona. As the head coach of the baseball team, Brandon focused on character development first and baseball second. His top priority was to develop young boys into good men, husbands, and fathers. And this focus equates to dozens of draft picks, collegiate athletes, and state championships, and a nationally ranked program. Brandon developed statewide leadership programs for students, teachers, and administration, and was named a finalist for Teacher of the Year for the state of Arizona in 2010. And Brandon became a professional leadership coach, facilitator, and speaker in January of 2016. And since then, he's been helping incredible people enhance their lives and incredible companies enhance their business and culture. Brandon created infinite strengths with a mission to provide an exceptional experience that will ensure all clients fully maximize their potential. And welcome to the show, Brandon.
Hi, Ray. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So that's really pretty cool that you got to teach and coach and do all of these things, because now that you've gotten like this natural teacher ability, that leads really nicely into what you're doing as a career now, right?
It helps a ton. When I transitioned out of it, I was originally I guess my biggest hang up was wondering if businesses would want to talk to a high school history teacher or a baseball coach. And you get out and you start talking to these CEOs or VPs, and you realize I'm telling them the same thing I told my catchers or I told my pitchers or infielders. They're just people, right? And then you start sitting back going, wait a minute, as an educator, I've had tons of experience of how you take someone from A to B. And it's really helped out a lot.
Well, they say to be a top performer, everybody needs coaches, right? And even, the top coaches need coaches. So there you go. I think it's lending well, because I think to be a teacher and a coach, absolutely. To be a life coach, that's what you're doing. And like your bio said, you're turning those young boys into men, and you're turning young leaders into great leaders, right?
Exactly. And it's just helping people understand that they all have it, right? And that leadership it's a learned behavior, and you can get into to learn how to lead effectively, just like somebody can learn how to swing a bat. Now, there might be some people that swing a bat better than you or me, but there might be some better leaders, but it doesn't mean you can't become as good as you possibly can.
Let's talk about the name of your business. Why did you decide to name it what you did?
It's a great question. I will say naming our business was one of the more challenging things to do. I thought we would have been able to name it quickly, but it didn't happen. I'm rattling off all these names. And then we started just sitting back and thinking about what was important to us. And I had gone to a conference downtown Boise, and they just started talking about infinity. And the infinity symbol was my sister-in-law's. It was her favorite symbol. She had it tattooed on her body, and she had passed away about 12 years ago. And I'm like, okay, there's a lot of connections right there, like infinity. And we messed around with it. Then we said, no, it's not going to be it. And then it came back up, and we started talking about people just having an infinite number of strengths, that we have so much potential. If we just tap into it and we really just take ownership of it, man, we can really do a lot of amazing things. And so we started putting those two together, and we came with infinite strengths. And then luckily my older brother is a graphic design artist and one of the more talented people I've ever met. And so I had him work with the logo, And the school that I taught at in Arizona, we were the Mountain Point Pride. So we were a pride of lions. And so we have a huge lion head, and then his eyes are the infinity symbol that represents it. So we just looked at a lion as having a lot of strength and connects my past and family and everything together.
I noticed that when you gave me a business card. It is very strong and thick stock, card stock. I love it. It's the black and the gold, and yeah, it's a very strong brand, and it's a very strong logo, and it definitely represents infinite strengths. And you're right. I think the lion is a good symbol for that. So that makes it come together, right, and represent your brand and who you stand for, and the things that you're wanting to do to help maximize people's potential and make sure that they're experiencing that with you. So that's a good first impression for sure. So, okay, tell me about, we were talking about coaches needing coaches. Who are some people that have motivated you or coached you along the way that you can gonna share with us about your coaches?
I have been very blessed to just have unbelievable people around me. Interesting, a guy, you might not know him, this guy named Jay Bell. Jay Bell was a former professional baseball player, played for the Pirates, two other teams, won a World Series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And he was my favorite player growing up. I loved watching him play. I grew up in Southern Indiana and just grew up loving to watch him play. And I moved to Arizona, and where I just become the head baseball coach there. And the school asked, we set up a golf scramble to raise funds for the program. And when we get to the golf course, they were like, Brandon, you know, Jay Bell's going to be here. I'm like, what? They go, yeah, Jay Bell's going to be here. I'm like, oh my gosh. So at the end of the 18 holes, we come in to eat lunch, and Jay comes up to me and goes, hey, Coach Buck, I'm Jay Bell. Do you have a few minutes? And I'm like,
of course.
Talk to me forever. And man, just when you're, you know, your hero, right? Your major league hero, the guy you looked up to, turns out to be an even better person. It was just something else. And so he actually came on and was my assistant coach for 7 or 8 years. I got to coach his 2 boys and taught his daughter in class. And he is just a huge mentor of mine. I talk to him a lot, but just seeing a person that lives by his values. He is a man that is who he is all the time. Just to see a person that's really rooted and grounded in his faith has been very powerful for us. He got us back into church, and so he's just a huge piece of my life. And I couldn't imagine where things would be without him. Was fortunate enough to play for another guy. He was the all-time winningest coach, not play, but coach with a guy down in Arizona. He was the all-time winningest coach down there for a long time. His name is Carl Kiefer, amazing coach. I got to coach with him, and then when he retired, he came on and was my assistant.
Nice.
He's like family, and once again, just a guy that has deep faith and just an unbelievable relationship with his wife. They made it 60 years before he passed away this past November. And so I've just been very fortunate to have amazing people around me close. Now, I go a lot of other places for resources. A book that I love that I really began to turn my mind towards leadership was a book by Jeffrey Marks called The Season of Life, about a high school football program back in Baltimore. And it was about creating men. And I fell in love with that and began adopting that in my baseball and football coaching days. And then I read a book by a man by the name of Andy Andrews. And Andy Andrews wrote a book called The Traveler's Gift. And those 2 books just got me thinking, going, man, like that's where it's at. When people understand who they are and what they can control, and it's their values and it's their actions and their beliefs, man, Ray, then it's a plug and play situation, right? You can put me as a teacher, as a coach, as a business owner, as a dad, as a husband, and life gets a lot simpler. Not easy by any means, but it gets a lot simpler. And I poured into it, and I just saw a need for that in education. I saw a need for that with my own kids, with myself and friends. And so when we transitioned out 4 years ago, that's what I knew I wanted to do, was just to help people become even better people.
Nice. And now you have meetings every once in a while. Let's talk about that. What is it that you do, and what do you call them?
So I run what's called a leadership huddle. I run them about once every 5 weeks, 4 weeks or so. And they used to be held downtown here in Boise, but now I run them virtual with the whole COVID deal, right? But it's they're short and sweet. I pick a topic that's relevant to the times, or people fill out some questionnaires and just tell me where they're struggling. And so we lean in on that. I run them, they're only about 30 minutes long on the computer. I speak for about 15 to 20 minutes, and I leave about 10 to 15 minutes for a question and answer at the end of it. And it's just a really short pump of inspiration, motivation. I run them on Friday mornings. We actually just had one this past Friday, so we'll have the next one here in September. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun, man. You come on and you get inspired, and they're free. Just ways for people to come on and learn a little nugget that they can take and begin implementing right away.
And they're usually at 7:30 Mountain Standard Time for our listeners that are outside of this area. How do people sign up for them, or how can they get engaged in these huddles?
Awesome. So one is the email list. By going to my website, you can just subscribe to be a part of my email list, which is just Infinite Strengths. It's plural, so infinitestrengths.com is a great way. I then start putting them out on LinkedIn or Facebook is usually where I'll start posting when I'm having my next talk. So just finding me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and then you can find information that way.
Well, and if you start getting people from outside of the area, you might have to continue to do them online, right?
I tell you, in everything, right, there's opportunities that arise. And this is one of the great ones. Growing up in Southern Indiana and then living in Arizona and now living in Boise, I've just been fortunate enough to meet a lot of people in different areas, and would love to come hear me talk, but they're not flying to Boise to just come hear me do a leadership huddle. So I'm able to do it online and get family and friends on there. And so it's been super cool.
It's expanded your horizons. I guess that's the silver lining, right? Now lots of virtual events or hybrid scenarios where you could do things where it's in person and online at the same time, right? That's another option for you, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then because this is a marketing expedition, this is the journey that we're going on, what results for you from the perspective of doing these leadership huddles? It's not like you're just selling the entire time, but kind of leads into things for you, right? It gives you opportunities to then maybe talk to these people to do more for them. Is that kind of how you've got it structured to help you?
It definitely gets to that point, right? When I run these huddles, my whole focus is to just expand my reach and to provide value. It's the more people I feel that I can help and really bring value to individuals, that's all I can control. Is that aspect, is me coming in and being me and listening and maybe asking the difficult questions or just giving thoughts or suggestions. And if I do a good enough job at that, then business flows from it. But if I go into the huddles and it's like, hey, this is my sales pitch, or this is what I'm here to do, then it becomes pretty fake. But if it really is to say, hey, here's a topic, this is a pain point, let's focus on this and really help people reflect internally and challenge their own thinking. Okay, now they want to come to another one, and they want to come to another one, and then they can determine if they're going to do business with me or not. But so in the long run, yes, that's like the byproduct out of it, but the focus is how much value can I bring and how often can I do it.
So give me an example of your latest topic. What did you cover during your huddle?
So this last topic, the question was just, who are you? Just a very simple question. But if you were to describe who you are, how would you do that? Would you talk about being a parent, a husband, a wife? Would you lean on your career, that you're an engineer, a teacher, a doctor? Would you go to title? I'm a CEO, I'm a president. Would you base that off of your race? Would you base it off of your faith? Or would you really even know how to answer that question? And over my experience in time, I have found that the way people answer that question will really shape the direction of their life. Because if it's all about, my identity is all wrapped up in my profession, then when that profession is over, I'm lost. And though I can succeed as far as selling things and doing well and building something, I'm just a total loss when it's gone. Or if people don't know how to answer that question, then they're all over the map, right? They're doing this one day, they're doing this one day, they're good when things are good, they're bad when things are bad. But people that really root their identity and their actions and their behaviors and their values, now that's how we can really set ourselves up to have a really powerful impact.
Yeah, I can imagine that people will associate themselves with what they do. And for me, I don't know that I could associate myself with anything else besides marketing and branding and, being a CEO. But I think it is important to say that I'm a mother and I'm a wife and, a daughter and all of those things too, right? So that's good.
You are, but even within that, right, it's how you behave in those situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you look at Pepper Shock, like, how you behave and act is what makes it, right? That's why it's been successful. It goes is because of you. Your family and why it's successful is because of you. And if for some reason something were to happen to Pepper Shock or family or this, they're still you, right? And when you root it in values, in your actions, right? That you're kind, you're loving, you're determined, you're persistent, you're empathetic. When that becomes your identity, like I said, it makes things simple. Not easy, but it makes it simple. That if something were to happen to those external things, they're still you. You're still going to be empathetic. You're still going to be loving. You're still going to be persistent and determined in that stuff.
So let's talk about some success stories of people that you've helped along the way. I mean, without giving names or, disclosing anything, but tell me about a situation or a client that you've worked with before that you feel that has been a success story for you.
Man, great question. I've been so fortunate just to work with some unbelievable people and companies. And I will say this, the people and companies that I work with, they're already tremendous people, right? They're tremendous leaders. They're just awesome people. And they just have this aspiration to continue to get better. They just have this humility about them of like, man, I know that there's still so much to learn. And so that's what makes it really exciting is you're taking great people and you're helping them continue on that journey, right, of getting to where they need to be. There's a company that I've worked with that has been just super solid in what they have done, but they had gotten to almost the max of that potential, right, of that leader, of his or her leadership ability. And what was happening is the company was getting there and then there wasn't the bandwidth or the leadership depth to grow beyond that. And so the leader, not intentionally, but would shrink the company back down. And then they would grow it and then they would shrink it back down. And from partnering with them, and we've really developed the leaders within that company. And now all of a sudden that company has spurred in and has created 2 other sister companies underneath them that are doing a lot of different things. That's providing for a lot of residual income and just other different branches of membership that just supplements what they're doing really well. So it's been really cool just to see that happen because originally it was just this constant grind of selling and then that client's gone and then selling and then that client's gone and now they're really able to build a relationship for people. So that's one particular here that's a local company that I've worked with. Some others are just individual that is one of the more creative people that I've ever met and was just all over the map, was more like a shotgun type of lifestyle and would have ideas everywhere, but would never really follow through on them, would start them and stop and start them and stop. And then eventually we got him focused on just one area. And now because he's done that, just you've seen his finances, I mean, heck, increased by 400, 500% since doing it, just because he got consistent and focused and put his energy into one area instead of a shotgun type approach.
Right. Now, do you work with groups or is it mostly just one-on-one situations?
Ideally, it's groups. I love working in group settings, but I also do executive coaching, keynote speaking, that type of stuff. But so the executive coaching groups, that's kind of the bread and butter, if you will.
Right. So what motivates you and why should people buy from you?
That's a good question. I love helping people help themselves figure it out, right? Like I love just being able to ask good questions and challenge people and just make sure that people are doing what it is that they want to do, right? It's not even that I have the answers. It's I know I don't, but I know I can ask you the right questions to make you figure out if what you're doing is what you need to be doing. So like that part excites me. I love just meeting new people. Man, when I can sit down and have a coffee or a beer with someone and just really get to know them, I walk away so energized. I mean, I'm an extroverted person, and so COVID can kill me at some point, right? Like,
Yeah. I know. I keep saying I'm gonna die from COVID without even contracting the virus because I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything, and I'm self-quarantining now because we just went on a trip and moved my dad down from Alaska through Canada, and yeah, I can certainly relate to how COVID could kill you without even getting it because of the fact that I too am a people person, and it is hard not to get out and see people and talk to them.
It's crazy. So I love doing that. I love coming up with an idea and doing it, right? Like that fires me up to say, okay, hey, we're going to do this thing, and then to do it, and then to see it start to grow, right? To see it shape and reshape and pivot and go this way or that way. And just as much as I love to see other people doing that, but I really believe that I was put here to coach. That's what I believe that I was meant to do. And it doesn't matter if it was baseball, if it was history, if it's leadership. It's like I can plug into that. And because of just my skill set in that area, I love doing it. And that passion comes out in it. And I think that's what becomes pretty fun is when you see somebody that's really excited about what they do and gets more excited when I see you have success. It's pretty fun.
Excellent. Okay, so since we're talking about, going on a marketing journey and this marketing expedition, and I know you do the huddles, but what are some other things that you have seen that have been helpful to you in gaining new business and getting your brand out there and just ways that you've seen that helps kind of accelerate that word of mouth and how you can get people to give you referrals? What are some tactics that you've been taking?
So with it, for me, just what you talked about in the intro, right? Of making sure that people become productive instead of just busy. Really worked for me is I know that I'm good at a couple things. I'm good at sitting down, having conversations with people, and public speaking. And so I try to do those two things a lot. So I have a number, like I want to have a minimum of 2 meetings with people every day. So I don't do Saturdays and Sundays. So 10 meetings I set up a week, and they're very consistent. And once again, it's simply designed to bring value, to connect, to meet with people. And then I'm really good at public speaking. And it's just a way for me to show credibility and that I have an idea of what I'm talking about and entertainment, if you will. And so I schedule at least one of those a month. So just being consistent, because that's where I know I'm good. And if I can do that and just do 2 meetings a day and do 1 public speaking event a month, that really impacts my business. Now, on top of that, I'll start to dabble in some social media, which is just now beginning. I'm starting another podcast separate of Infinite Strengths. It's just called Own Your Journey. We've just begun starting to record that, and I'll start putting those out. I recorded my first one last week, sorry. And so we'll start getting that stuff together and we'll start sending that stuff out. So that will be one area. I take, when I have my huddles, I write up what I talk about in my huddles, and then I'll post that in the IBR, Idaho Business Review. So that's about, so I'm getting 1 article in there once a month, and then I'll put that out on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. And so those have really been the main ways that I've been marketing. Nothing crazy. It's just that I know what I'm good at, and I do that really well. And then the other stuff, it's like I'm beginning to dabble in it and not just, I'm not going to say waste, but just pouring all my resources into something that I'm not very good at and hoping that it puts something out. It's like I know where I'm good. I'm going to do that. And at the same time, I'm going to start growing a little bit at a time through podcast or putting stuff in the IBR or that type of stuff.
Excellent. Yeah, I like being able to get published in public speaking, although public speaking has kind of been a little more difficult because of COVID. Have you found outlets or places to speak? I mean, online, obviously, but how are you getting those gigs lined up, Brandon?
Most of it's just online, reaching out to people and finding out like, hey, what do you have going on? Talking with some sports teams and figuring out like, hey, especially if you just look at what's happening around the country with college football ending and being able to go in and speak with coaching staffs, might be virtually. going to speak in with the football program. I was fortunate enough to do a speaking event with the Boise State football program about a month ago, and they're all separate, right? They're split up in offense and defense, and they've got their mask on, and they're nowhere near me, and they're separated from it, but I was able to get in and speak with them. So it's really just, I've been asking a lot more, like, hey, what do you have going on? What do you have coming up? How can I help? And then getting in to talk to them.
Well, that's excellent. I hadn't thought about the sports teams and being able to speak in front of them. That's great. Well, obviously, that's a good place for you to be, for sure.
It's kind of
okay. So let's see. How can people get a hold of you? What's your website, and any other information or anything else that you would like to offer our audience and help them get connected with you?
Awesome. So my website, it's Infinite Strengths. One, like they're combined, and strengths is plural, so infinitestrengths.com. You can just email me at brandon@infinitestrengths.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on there quite a bit. And it's just Brandon Buck that's on there. So those are the best ways to find me. Beginning to dabble in the other stuff, but don't even go there. It's you'd be disappointed if you went on like a Twitter or Instagram account and just saw how little I
So those are some things you're looking forward to getting to do in the future. Excellent. Okay, so any last words of wisdom or inspiration or anything that you would like to leave our audience today?
I think it's the biggest thing just right now with what we're going through. There's just so much uncertainty out there. There's just so much chaos that's out there. And if we focus on all those things that we can't control, man, we're going to be pretty miserable. And so I'm just encouraging and challenge everyone, just first of all, like just stay calm. Though we've not gone through COVID, we've gone through something difficult before. We've gone through a divorce, a death, a loss of a job, some difficult challenge, and we're still here. So we'll get through this, but we just have to stay calm and really focus on how you behave, how you act, and who you are. Like, don't go around creating more guilt, more regret because you did something you knew you shouldn't have done. So just stay calm, focus on being your best self and bring him or her. And that way you'll simplify life a lot.
Excellent. I like it. Thank you so much for joining us on the Marketing Expedition podcast, Brandon. And I'm hoping that this will also help you in some way or another, and people can get a hold of you and learn all about what you have to offer for them, and reach out for that coffee or beer or virtual coffee, I guess. Yeah, lots of virtual coffees these days. Absolutely. But thanks, Brandon. We really appreciate you having you on the show.
Ray, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk.
And for our listeners, if you have not yet gone to the marketingexpedition.com, I encourage you to do that. We will post podcasts and webinars and trainings, and there's all kinds of downloadables and content and information for you to help you build your brand and your bottom line. So go to the marketingexpedition.com and become a part of our community. And then also the Facebook page, the group is the Marketing Expedition Members Group. The group is free. So go to Marketing Expedition Members and join the Facebook group there, and subscribe to the podcast and give us a review. We love that. The 5 R's I tell people, it's ratings, rankings, reviews, referrals, and then rewards. So we love to have that. And if you want to be on the show, visit peppershock.com/podcasts, and there's a place for you to submit to be on the show. All right. Thank you. And until next time, enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Expedition podcast. Find more online at peppershock.com. Wouldn't it be great if there was one place you can go to get all the latest information and tips about marketing and advertising? The Marketing Expedition community is that place. People like you gather in our online community to build relationships with others and find the latest marketing trends, tactics, tools, and technology. We help you build your brand and your bottom line. Start your adventure today. Visit themarketingexpedition.com to find out more.